Welcome back to the Kenya Mushroom Stamp series. This is in fact part two of a two-part episode. So if you've not watched part one, please go to my playlist and watch the first part first. In my previous episode, I showed you what the graphic file that is sent to the Kenya Post and Telecom Corporation for approval looked like, which is on the right side. Today you can also see what the stamp that came out of this sketch looked like. In fact, it's quite commonplace that there's a lot of back and forth with the artist before one of these creations is sent out to print, requesting minor changes of colors and whatnots, and they may even require a complete do-over if they're not happy. But in fact, the series was pretty much approved as is. Another interesting fact about the stamps that my mum creates is that there is, in fact, a joint effort with my dad. So whilst my mum does the design work and all the sketching, my dad assists her by printing out a cover that is printed out on a clear paper that has the framework, the country name, denomination, the name of the mushroom, and also the Latin name. That is later on attached as a second layer on top of the sketch, placed within a folder, and that is in fact how my mum submits these sketches to the corporation for approval. This assists them in knowing the positioning, the relevant size, and how the series would look as a whole for easier approval of the stamps. The white button mushroom, is an example of the work my mum could do with the white technique that she has developed. Now, this is important because what I did not mention in a previous episode was that my mum was actually the second artist that had to try to submit this work after the first one, the first graphic designer failed. And she was approached because the technique that developed in Dr. Lerman saw in one of her exhibitions. This technique involved the work with gray tones and white tones to create added dimensions and shadows of working with a white background. So you can see this quite clearly on the white button mushroom. Though consequently, she was the second artist to do the series, her time frame was not changed. So she had a very short and tight time framework to work on, and she created this series within a 2 weeks time. Of the 5 stamps that my mum designed, the termite mushroom is the only one that grows in the wild. It grows on termite mounds or ant hills, whereas the other 4 grew in the eldoret tanning manufacturers. So when they sponsored the production of these stamps, they had a twofold interest. The first was the educational value that these stamps would afford them, in the sense of that the more people saw these stamps, they would know which of the mushrooms are edibles and they would look out for them. So a kind of mushroom directory for their clients. The second one was the fact that these stamps would give them added exposure and hopefully increased sales, not only locally but also internationally. And this would be done by the fact that stamps are attached to letters that travel internationally, and hence the increased exposure that they would receive. This is the full series that you can see here. You can see all the stamps side by side, and you can see the attention my mum put on really creating a fact that although these mushrooms are all of different sizes and colors, they would all have a same look, that they would look like a series. You can see the fact that she put a lot of attention at giving each mushroom different angles so that it would really serve as a directory. The print house that was selected for these stamps was the British company called the House of Questa. Now, an interesting story is that the House of Questa was in fact given a lot of press regarding a controversial claims that they, together with an adjoining printing house called Format, printed stamps that were not completely fine, i.e. With inverted watermarks and overprints that were ordered by resellers in order to increase their sales, which is not a very fair thing to do, but these are all rumors. What you can see is that these stamps that you can recognize the House of Cuesta by the signature mark of the balloons on the sheets. You can see a sample here on the right. And also the House of Cuesta logo would be on the bottom of the sheet. This is what a part of the sheet would look like. You can again see the signature mark on the right. These were printed in a lithography process, all are unwatermarked. There are 50 stamps in a sheet with a subdivision of 25. Every FDC first day cover would come out with a trifold of a pamphlet, which is double-sided. And this is the great marketing material that the mushroom companies had to talk about their manufacturing process and their advantages. And this is something that was sent with all the stamps, so this is great material for them. This is the Philatelic bulletin that came out for the stamps, inviting people to make their purchases. At the time, stamps took a much more important part in our lives, and when a stamp issue came out, it came out with a lovely press release. And this is an example of an advertisement that came out in the Daily National, which is a Kenya daily newspaper, inviting people to come and purchase these stamps in the postal offices in Nairobi and in Mombasa, unless they, of course, had their subscriptions. What I love looking at is that at the time when one of these paper clippings happened, what other things happened on the date of issue. So here you can see Carter's bid to resolve the Ethiopian war, and it takes me back to my childhood. But enough reminiscing. This is what an FDC would look like. The first day cover of these stamps that was awarded to my mother by the post office. It was printed on a lovely grey paper, and this afforded a great contrast for the mushrooms, giving it a very elegant look. This presentation sheet was given to my mother by the managing director of Kenya Post and Telecommunication. And a nice thing to know is that over the years, many collectors have sent my mum an FDC or one of these presentation sheets for her to autograph, and then she would revert and send them back to the collectors for them to have. This incredibly is a newspaper article written about my mum's work in the Allgemeine Journal in '97, quite a few years later. She received wonderful coverage for her work. You can see that although so many years had passed, the mushroom stamps still received their acclaim. Also, another one of my mum's stamps can be seen there, the monkey from the Biblical Zoo series from Jerusalem. So I will talk about that collection later on in a different episode. Here is some press coverage that this stamp issue received in Israel in Hebrew. One of these is from a daily newspaper called Haaretz. The Post Communications Office was very happy with my mum's work. So this, in fact, was the first of many issues that she'd made. And in my next episode, I will talk about the next series that she did. So if you don't want to miss out on that, please make sure you subscribe and hit the notification notice so that you do not miss out the episode. Thanks for your time. Take care.